Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We are welcoming you to First Congregational United Church of Christ, Alexandria, Minnesota, on this Labor Day weekend. I'm Ann Branch, and I am not the pastor. And I'm not going to be the pastor today. Pastor Michael is having a little bit of difficulty in his commute, but he will be here. So we're going to start with our announcements and whatever else, and he will be here in just a few minutes. So Women's Fellowship has an announcement. Barb, do you want to do that first?
Good morning. Our new year, programmatic year, is starting for Women's Fellowship on Thursday, and there will be a salad luncheon thing. Buffet type of thing, and so we welcome you to come and start talking with and conversing again with your friends. The theme this year is Blessings Every Day, and so we will be looking at that. The flute group will be there for music, and Joy will have devotions for us, so please come.
Okay, so we expect all the women. We also have an announcement about a special program that's coming up in September. Carol Zavadil, are you ready? Yes.
Just want to remind you all that Jennifer Maloney is having a concert here for everyone on Friday, the 20th of September at 7, and on Sunday, the 23rd of September, that would be the 22nd of September, at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. All of you are invited. I will be selling tickets in the Pilgrim Plymouth room after the service, so please come and buy some, because Jennifer is donating her time and her beautiful singing to our church. Thank you.
Okay, so something exciting coming up. Any other announcements that we have? Okay, none? All right. Okay, we do have an announcement. Clayton Milkey has an announcement this morning. Come on down, as they say. Yes, you might as well. Okay, there you go.
Just wanted to announce we're doing our heating system over, so if you notice things are messed up and there's various dirt and stuff around the building, because we've got a lot of equipment going out and we got brand new equipment coming in. The chimney that used to be out on the east side has been taken down yesterday, so there's kind of a hole there, and I got a board over it. Don't step into that part. No, it's coming along nicely. They hope to have it done in a few days, and then we'll be up with our brand new heating system. Wish us good luck on that. Also, I came up with the idea of having our little information card on the church. A bunch of you have already gotten those. Have any of you given some out? I wanted everybody to take a couple of them and then hand them out to friends or neighbors or somebody you're talking about the church. It's got all of our information, our website, phone number. We got connection with our YouTube, so you can watch videos later. So has anybody been actively using these? Come on. Oh, yeah, we got one in the back. I handed one out the other day. I'm going to go pass a few more around, and anybody that doesn't have at least two of them, you should have two. And if you're visiting, grab one too, because then you can connect with us later.
Okay, thank you, Clayton. That is a fabulous idea. One other announcement that I was made aware of this morning, there are two lovely floral arrangement planters outside the front doors of the church. I know one is on the south side. I'm not sure if the other is. And they were donated by the worship committee and Kirk Anderson. And you might talk to those folks and say thank you. They're lovely fall additions to our sanctuary and our doorway. Any other announcements this morning? Yes, we have another announcement. All right. And Okay, Mike's yours.
Okay, since we're kind of stalling. I'm the daughter of Vi Froming, who's a member here. I'm Kathy Anderson from Minneapolis area. But anyhow, my announcement, since this is Blessing of the Pet Days, my husband and I have some cats at our house, and just in thinking about how much we love our pets and how much we want to just bless them, we have a cat who is very, very ill. A week ago, we thought we were going to lose him. And I talked to my sister, Viva's other daughter, April, and she said, I'll be praying for your cat. And so by the next morning, we got to cancel our vet appointment because the cat had totally recovered. And we thought we were on the verge of having to call it quits. So we got our cat blessed by some prayer.
All right. The power of prayer. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I think at this point in time, if there are no other announcements, let us welcome each other by extending a hand of welcome to those around you and greeting each other. So let's do that right now.
Morning, sir.
Yes. How did I do? Wonderful. Do I have a calling or what?
Oh, why you do. You do. Never too late. A second.
Teacher, always a teacher. You can talk forever if you have to. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I still needed that to orient myself, to get me where I need to be. Welcome each and every one of you this morning to the Feast of St. Francis. For our radio listeners, be aware that yes, there may be animals in the sanctuary today, so if you hear a yip or meow, that is okay. If willing and able, I invite you to rise and join me in a spirit of prayer as we invoke God's blessing upon this gathering. God, who is as grand as the distant cosmos and as near to us as our own breath, we ask your blessing today upon this day which we are setting aside, which we are consecrating towards recognizing one of your most special gifts to us, the special bonds that we have with the animals that we choose to share our lives with. Your love is always poured out upon us in surprising ways, in ways that we can easily take for granted, or ways that we might miss if we're not paying attention. But today, in this one way, let us not miss it. Let us lift up the relationships we have with all of your creatures and the ways in which they enrich our lived human experience, the ways in which they are a testament to your love for us. You have yet more light to shed upon this world. Help us in some small way to be a part of increasing it. Amen.
We will do the responsive call to worship. Aha, here we are. We desire to work together to continue the mission Jesus started. We desire to be good partners in God's creation with each other.
And also with the creatures God sends us to be companions on our journeys.
God's love for us comes in many forms.
May our eyes be open to the surprising ways that God's love can be seen and felt.
May we recognize that God's vision for creation is greater than we can comprehend.
May love motivate every aspect of our life. May the blessings of our compassionate God be poured out upon all our relationships.
Be seated. The first reading today is from the Psalms, Psalm 104, verses 16 to 34. And it's entitled, God the Creator and Provider. So listen to how God creates and provides for every living thing on this earth. The trees of the Lord are watered abundantly, the cedars of Lebanon that he planted. In them the birds build their nests. The stork has its home in the fir trees. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The rocks are a refuge for the conies. You have made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows its time for setting. You make darkness, and it is night, when all the animals of the forest come creeping out. The young lions roar for their prey, seeking their food from God. When the sun rises, they withdraw and lie down in their dens. People go out to their work and to their labor until the evening. O Lord, how manifold are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Yonder is the sea, great and wide. Creeping things innumerable are there, living things both small and great. There go the ships and Leviathan that you formed to sport in it. These all look to you to give them their food in due season. When you give to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things. When you hide your face, they are dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die and return to their dust. When you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works, who looks on the earth and it trembles, who touches the mountains and they smoke. I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praise to my God while I have being. May my meditation be pleasing to him, for I rejoice in the Lord. Here ends the reading.
Are there little ones hiding from me somewhere? So I was really hoping that we would have at least a couple kiddos today, because our scripture today is one that is just begging to be acted out, like we do with the children's message sometime. What are the odds that I have two brave adults that would be willing to be actors with me today? These are good roles. Thank you, LD. Thank you. I need Balaam. Balaam is a prophet. I need someone to be Balaam's donkey, and I need an angel. Which role do you want? You want to be the donkey? That's a good role. It's a fun one. Surprisingly, it's a speaking role. You want to be Balaam or do you want to be the angel? Okay. All right. Brave volunteers. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, so let's see. We are going to start with Peor. Oh, it's over here. This side of the stage is the village of Peor, and Israel is over here. When the story starts, both Balaam and Balaam's donkey are in Peor, so they're going to start over here. And they are trying to get to Israel. But the thing is, God isn't too pleased about what Balaam's going to do when he gets there. And the angel knows this, and the angel's going to do something about it. So, I don't know how you want to impersonate this idea that we have a prophet riding a donkey here. I like your style. So, they begin to set out for Israel. But then something weird happens. There's an angel blocking their path, and I am playing the angel. But here's the funny thing. The donkey can see the angel, but Balaam can't. The donkey knows that I'm here, so find some way to signal that you can tell that I'm here. Balaam remains clueless. But being spurred on by Balaam, the donkey has to move forward. But the donkey wisely takes a wide path to avoid the angel, cutting through a cornfield. Balaam doesn't get it. And Balaam scolds the donkey. What are you doing? The angel smartens up just a little bit. The angel goes ahead on the path and finds a narrower spot, a narrower spot where there won't be as much room, and once again stands in the way to challenge Balaam. The donkey and Balaam move forward. Once again, the donkey is smart this time and takes a wide path to avoid the angel. This time, because the path is narrow, Balaam's foot gets scraped against a wall. So now Balaam's even more upset, and Balaam scolds his donkey again. A third time, the angel gets in the path. This time, there's no room on either side. There's no way the donkey's going to be able to walk around the angel this time. But once again, they approach, and the donkey can see the angel, and Balaam can't. So the donkey does the only logical thing, and just sits down. And refuses to move, and sits down with Balaam on top of the donkey. And Balaam is even more upset and scolds the donkey again. This is where God recognizes that an injustice has occurred. The donkey is actually showing sacrificial love for Balaam. The donkey is doing what the donkey needs to do to protect Balaam, and he's being punished for an act of love. So, God intervenes, and to rectify this situation, God grants the donkey the ability to talk. You're making a cameo role here as God. So, in whatever way feels right to you, on the count of 3, grant our donkey the ability to speak. 1, 2, 3. Donkey, now liberated and able to communicate, turns to Balaam and says, "Hey, I've been your donkey your whole life. Have I ever disobeyed you?" And Balaam's response is actually, "Well, no, you haven't." Balaam now starts to realize something's up here, something's going on. Once again, God intervenes. This time, God intervenes by granting Balaam the ability to see the angel. So, on the count of 3, I need you to grant our Balaam the ability to see the angel. 1, 2, 3. And Balaam gets it. Balaam understands the donkey was protecting him, the donkey was saving him, and he has to apologize to his 4-legged animal friend. And then Balaam turns to the angel and says, "Well, clearly I wasn't supposed to go on this way. If you want me to turn around, I will." But instead the angel says, "Go, keep going, but only do and say the things God tells you to do." Another round of applause for our actors.
some just clap their hands. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing higher, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. And some just clap their hands and pause for everything they got done. All God's creatures got a place in the choir.
Our second reading this morning comes from the book of Numbers. We are in the 22nd chapter, verses 21 through 35. And so Balaam got up in the morning, and he saddled his donkey, and he went with the officials of Moab. Now, God's anger was kindled because he was going. And the angel of the Lord took his stand in the road as Balaam's adversary. Now he was riding on the donkey, and his two servants were with him. The donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road, with a drawn sword in his hand. So the donkey turned off the road and went into the field. And Balaam struck the donkey to turn it back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the vineyards, with a wall on either side. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it scraped against the wall, and scraped Balaam's foot against the wall. And so Balaam struck it again. Then the angel of the Lord went ahead, and stood in a very narrow place, where there was no way to turn, either to the right or to the left. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down underneath Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he struck the donkey with his staff. And then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times?" Balaam said to the donkey, "Because you've made a fool of me. I wish I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." But the donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your donkey, which you have ridden all of your life to this day? Have I been in the habit of treating you this way?" And Balaam said, "No." Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road, with his drawn sword in his hand, and he bowed down, falling on his face. The angel of the Lord said to him, "Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? I came out as an adversary because your way was perverse before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not, surely just now I would have killed you and let the donkey live." But Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned. I didn't know that you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now therefore, if it is displeasing to you, I will return home." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you to speak." My hope is that we can get that slideshow of all of our awesome animal pictures back up. Sweet. I don't know if the rest of you have had this experience that I've had, where there's like a little piece of trivia that you will never, ever forget because it was part of a really well-worded question on a game show one time. I have a little bit of Bible trivia that I will never forget because I was watching Jeopardy one time, and Final Jeopardy, the question was, if you take all the animals in the Bible that talk and add their legs together, how many legs is it? Anybody want to guess? I've already heard it. It's 4. Because the only 2 animals in the Bible that talk are Balaam's donkey and the serpent of the Garden of Eden. No legs, so the answer is still 4. I'll never forget that now. This particular story that we've heard today is one that doesn't show up in the lectionary and that you're not going to hear very often. I kind of get it. I kind of understand why. This particular part of the Bible that we're looking at, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, can be just heart-wrenchingly violent. This part of the Bible is just war story, war story, war story, something else, people getting killed. It's tough to read. And when I remember that all of these stories were spoken first around campfires, they're all urban traditions, oral traditions first, before they started getting written down and compiled and edited. I imagine that this particular little part of the book of Numbers, this little story about a talking donkey, is probably the part that people looked forward to. Oh, another war story. Oh, another war story. Oh, good, this is the part about the donkey. And they looked forward to it, and they wanted to hear it, and it allowed them to catch their breath and feel a little bit better. Which is kind of what one of the roles our animals play in our lives. There's so much going on. There's pressure. We have to do this. We're worried about this. I'm just going to go pet Fido for a while. I think this story is supposed to be a little bit of, I don't want to say comic relief, but a little bit of a lightening of the mood. This is a tough part of the story to get through. Even Balaam himself will even ultimately meet his end through an act of warfare. But in the midst of all this, we get this charming little story about a donkey who would rather get struck for disobeying than see his owner get hurt. There aren't really pet stories in the Bible. The culture that these stories sprouted out of didn't really have that privilege. They had to dedicate a huge amount of their time and energy just to staying alive and holding civilization together. So when animals are in the Bible, they're usually either like resources or like property or livestock or else something to be afraid of. But once I found this story, I found it very hard to let it go. Once I found this story, I was like, people need to hear this. People need to know that this is in the Bible. And in one of the most violent parts of the Bible, we have this charming little donkey story. At United Church of Christ General Synod, which is the big meeting of the whole national denomination that happens every other summer, for a couple decades, if you went to this synod, you would have found people running around with blue newspaper flyers trying to hand them out. It was called Balaam's Courier. And it was this independent newspaper made by a handful of people that always went to General Synod. And some of it was very prophetic, and some of it was very bold, and some of it was very like, here are the things that we need to take seriously and that God is calling us to, and these are justice issues. But it spoke everything from the perspective of Balaam's donkey. And that kind of allowed it to be this more lighthearted take. It kind of allowed people to not be threatened by these big issues because they're being told it by a donkey. And it allowed people to really start internalizing and thinking about these big, deep, complex, hard to wrestle with issues. The people that did the Courier got too old to continue doing it about 4 years ago, and so it stopped coming out. But they also started writing like handbooks and like how-to guides for like people that are new to the UCC, all from the perspective of Balaam's donkey. Once again, allowing them to take kind of a more lighthearted and almost joking approach towards topics that otherwise might be difficult and people might just not want to deal with. So this story takes place in that period of time when the Israelites have left Egypt, but they have not yet made it to the Promised Land. So they are kind of wandering through the wilderness, mostly desert. And they've been a pretty disruptive force to a lot of the other tribes in the area. And seeing this, one of the kings of Moab, his name was Balak, is getting worried. These Israelites, these Hebrews, they keep coming through and they keep, things are going really well for them. Does that mean things are not going to go well for us? He's worried. And he's kind of getting this idea that Israel, the Hebrews, have some sort of like divine mandate, that something beyond our control, something beyond our power is at work here. And so he sprouts up an idea. Well, if they have God on their side, then I need to use God against them. Balak is aware of this Balaam guy. Balaam's a prophet. Now, Balaam is not a Hebrew, but he is a prophet, meaning that he knows the Hebrew God as the true God and is able to discern that God's will. So Balak sends a couple folks over to Balaam and says, hey, I need you to come over here and curse these Israelites. Because if you curse them in the name of their God and your God, then I won't have to be afraid of them. Maybe they'll leave us alone. And at first, Balaam is like, well, I got to ask God first. And he asks God, and God says no. And he comes back and says, sorry, God says no, I can't do it. But Balak doesn't give up. Balak sends even more people with even more money. Instead of just giving him like the normal prophet's fee this time, they offer him great wealth. And Balaam's eyes are opened a little bit by this wealth, and he goes, well, let me ask God again. And so he goes and he asks God again. And this time, God's answer is a little more ambiguous, and how we interpret that answer will really change how we interpret the story. If we see Balaam as being like a bad guy, if we see him as being a villain, or maybe just someone who was tempted in a bad way. And then he makes his journey. Now, every painting I've ever seen of this story kind of depicts Balaam and his donkey as being by themselves. It's usually just the three characters on the road, the angel, Balaam, and the donkey. But the story kind of implies that he's going back with the officials from Moab. And it's also kind of implying that his own servants were there too, which kind of makes sense because how much more embarrassing would this be for Balaam if there was people around to see his donkey wandering off into a cornfield or hitting him up against a wall or just sitting down underneath him? So there probably are a few other people on the road. And every translation that I have ever read of this story that genders the donkey always says she and makes the donkey female. I don't know why. I don't know if there's something going on in the Hebrew that I don't know about or if there's some other tradition around it, but the donkey is always depicted as a female if it's gendered. So the donkey can see the angel and Balaam can't. And no real attempt is made to explain why. Is this donkey special? Can animals just in general see things better than us? Are animals less distracted and therefore better able to perceive and pick up on things? I don't know, the Bible doesn't exactly tell us. But one way or another, whether it's because the donkey is gifted or because Balaam is spiritually blinded, Balaam can't see the angel, but the donkey can. And I find this part of the story very funny. I love imagining in my mind the donkey just waddling off into the field and cutting through some farmer's crops in order to not let him get anywhere near the angel, because he can tell the angel's bad news for Balaam. And then he bumps up against the side of the wall and scrapes Balaam's foot so that he won't hit the angel, and Balaam's getting more and more upset and frustrated. And I love imagining the part where the donkey sees the angel, sees that he can't go left, can't go right, and goes, all right, and just sits down. And how frustrated Balaam would be when he can't understand. And then God comes in, sees this injustice happening, says, this isn't okay. This is an act of sacrificial love that this donkey is showing. I think it's really important that later in the story, we hear the angel say, I was never going to kill the donkey. I was only going to kill you. The donkey wasn't protecting themselves. The donkey was protecting you. And the donkey would rather get struck. The donkey would rather be embarrassed and abused and harmed than see you come to harm. This is a strangely New Testament feeling about love. This is a strangely Christ-like idea of sacrificial love, shown by a donkey. While all the humans in this story are busy bribing each other and going to war. So God, seeing this injustice, steps in. By truth, will set the situation free. And so God steps in, and the donkey talks. Hey, how long have I been helping you out? How long have you been my owner? How long have I been your donkey? And I've never disobeyed you. Why are you hitting me? Now, to Balaam's credit, he doesn't seem like terribly surprised when the donkey talks back. Maybe Balaam has just seen things happen before and he's not surprised by anything anymore. But there's no mention of like a scream, of a gasp, of like starting with, hey, how are you talking? No mention of looking around to see if some sort of trick is happening. Balaam just answers him. Balaam just says, well, I struck you because you made me look foolish. And he goes, have I ever been in the habit of that before? Do you have any reason to believe that that's something I would be trying to do? And Balaam just says, well, no. And then Balaam is able to see the angel, and justice abounds. This is just about the only time in the Bible that I'm aware of where someone apologizes to an angel or apologizes to an animal. And I imagine that from that day forward, Balaam took that relationship with that donkey awfully serious. I imagine from that day forward, whenever Balaam saw his donkey, he remembered the day that the donkey made this act of sacrifice and service for him. The day the donkey saved his life and perhaps aided his spiritual journey as well. From that day forward, that donkey was probably a symbol of God's love for Balaam. One of the ways in which Balaam saw and witnessed, one of the ways in which it was a testament to God's love in this world. And that's what we are lifting up today as well. When we have an animal that attaches to us and we share our lives with them, that's one of the ways in which we can see God's love at work in this world. That's one of the ways in which we can be changed. That's one of the ways in which we can be pulled back and reminded of what's really important and have our hearts softened and take a deep breath and remember that God's love's not going to run out on us. It's not going to let us go. There's lots of ways to see God's love if we're looking for it, and my hope is that our animals is one of those. Amen. And now is the time in our service that we share our prayer requests and our joys and our concerns, that they can be lifted up in prayer as one community. I do want to ask, with our day off tomorrow, that we remember in our prayers the meaning of that day as well, and we give thanks, and we intentionally stop and recognize the importance of labor and working people and the real accomplishments of working people in our world and in our lives. Are there other prayer requests to share this morning? Yeah. 29. Congratulations. We're also going to give thanks for Annie and Jay's 29th wedding anniversary. That is today. All the love that has been shown and a long relationship between them, and Thanksgiving that they would choose to spend such an important day here with us, and how blessed we are for that as well. Yeah. 65th. Daisy and Ron have their 65th anniversary on Thursday. Other prayer requests? And I invite us to join together in a time of silent prayer, to lift up these and our unspoken prayers to God in our hearts and minds. God of the prophets, God that Jesus called Father, we gather together once again in your name, knowing that if we humbly present ourselves before us, you can work with us. You can put us to work, bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth. Help us to be your church in this time and place, called to new places and familiar ones. Pour out your Spirit upon us that we might be willing to take a risk in the name of love and service, and that we might have eyes to see all the blessings that you have poured out upon us, even in ways that we otherwise might miss. We ask that you will make us ready for the work of taking care of your church, taking care of each other, taking care of ourselves, taking care of your creation, and taking care of those creatures that are our companions upon life's journey. We also ask that tomorrow, on this day which our culture is consecrated, this day in which our culture encourages us to remember the importance of working people, of labor towards our society, towards our civilization, towards all the gifts that we have and all that we've built as a people. May we see your love there as well. May we know that when people share their gifts in your name, that they're doing your work. May we recognize how much we need each other and how much we benefit from each other every day of our lives. And may working people tomorrow feel recognized and feel remembered and feel lifted up in all of our love. We give you thanks for the celebrations in our lives. Annie and Jay's anniversary, Ron and Daisy's anniversary. May these reminders of love build us up and inspire us and make us better people. May they make us want to be sent out into your world as a visible sign of your love, and the ways in which love can transform us and make us closer to the people that you would have us be, with love overflowing out of us to be shared in the places that you'll send us. We also lift up for your blessing, for your spirit, those in our families and lives and our communities who maybe aren't having a very easy time these days. Our family members who are in grief or in hospitals or in hospice, may they know that you never forget them. And if we are the ones that you are calling to be there for them, grant us the strength and the faith and the courage to say, "Here I am," and to go. We ask all this in the words that your Son taught us to pray, saying, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever." Amen.
Through our offering, we extend to the world God's banquet invitation. As we reach out to people who have not known our advantages, we are blessed. Let us not neglect to do good and to share generously what we have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. Will the ushers please come forward? Please join with me in the unison prayer of dedication. Gracious God, through the beauty of creation, through the work of Jesus, and through the many companions that reflect your love to us, you have dealt generously with your people. We can never hope to repay all that you have done for us, but we are inspired by your love to give something back, that we might participate in your work of bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth. Bless what we offer of our money and of ourselves to that hope. Guide our offerings that they may empower this church and be instruments of spreading light where it is needed. Amen.
You have heard our final hymn before, but it is not as familiar to us as many others. So the choir is going to sing the first verse. The verses are rather short. And then we'll double back and invite you to sing the first verse with us. And then we'll go on to sing all 6 verses.
The plan, weather permitting, is to head out onto the south steps and south lawn after our service today to bless the animals that have come with us in person, the animals up on the screen. Might be a couple more animals that trickle in for just that part as well. So if willing and able, you can join us in the south lawn. Otherwise, there will be fellowship as usual in the Plymouth room. God's grace does not run out on us, or on anybody, or on those we share our love with.
Empowered by God's generous blessings to us, we will be a blessing to others as well.
It is a gift to be in relationship with another living being. May we strive to be good stewards of the trust that has been placed in us.
May our interactions with all God's creatures testify to the love that we have been shown.
May your eyes be a little more open to the blessings we've received for the many surprising ways in which God shares God's love with us. May the animals in your life be a reminder of the many gifts that we've received. And if they are helping us in ways in which we know or ways we don't know, or ways in which they know and ways in which they don't know, may that remind us of the ways in which God's plan, God's love for us is greater than we could recognize. Having been loved deeply, be sent out into this world to share it with others as well. Amen.